Volume 8 enters the critical year of 1905 as Russia plunged into a war with Japan, literally, and as an outcome of an utterly disastrous Pacific campaign, experienced a revolutionary situation in January. In fact, so much happens in 1905 that the volume only covers January to July, but it covers a lot of different topics. Some of the articles and letters in here concern the ongoing Bolshevik-Menshevik split, so for that, I urge you to watch the video on volume 7. In the fall of Port Arthur, Lenin makes the claim that the Japanese victory in the Pacific has crushed the European bourgeoisie's faith in Russia as the bulwark of reactionary politics. Not only that, but he recognizes that because European imperialists invested so much into the industrial development of Port Arthur as a bulwark against Asian expansionism and a defense of Europe's Asian colonies, the defeat deals a vital blow to European imperialism. What's more, it signifies the collapse of Russia's entire political system, according to Lenin. The collapse of Russia's Pacific position signaled the bankrupt and criminal neglect of the Tsarist autocracy's armed forces and its eastern peoples. This embarrassing defeat exposed the failures of the autocracy and, as Lenin points out, mobilized the working class. He writes that the, quote, cause of Russian freedom and of the struggle of Russia and the world proletariat for socialism depends on a very large extent on the military defeats of the autocracy. The failure of the Tsarist army and navy is convincing the skeptics that revolution is possible in Russia. And lo and behold, a revolution does break out on January 22nd, 1905. In Revolutionary Days, Lenin describes some of the events of the revolution of 1905. Father Gapon, for example, the Orthodox priest who led the working class protesters to Bloody Sunday, was an unconscious instrument of the government, he says. He argues that Bloody Sunday, when Tsarist officers fired on nearly 3,000 demonstrators, was a coordinated event to do something about working class radicalism in the city. The events also demonstrated the spontaneity of the Russian masses, willing to stand behind a priest. The Social Democrats wondered whether and how to gain influence over this spontaneous mass. In Two Tactics, Lenin argues that the new Iskra editorial board has resorted to economism, Rabochaya Delois, as he calls them, and advocacy for a nonviolent type of insurrection. Lenin suggests that because of the culmination of events in January, the working class has come to realize that no insurrection except a timed and armed one can be successful. Social democracy and the provisional revolutionary government gives us an account of what Lenin believes should come after the autocracy and how the party should approach the hypothetical new government. The new government would convene a constituent assembly through universal, direct, equal suffrage and secret ballot, according to Lenin. Here, Lenin expands upon the idea of minimum and maximum programs for the party. The party's minimum program is the overthrow of the autocracy and a provisional revolutionary government with a constituent assembly. He calls this the democratic revolution, and debates existed within the party as to whether the party would take part in this government. Of course it should, says Lenin, and the Iskra board, especially Alexander Martynov, shouldn't confuse the democratic revolution with a socialist revolution or the maximum program. Later on, Lenin states that party participation in the provisional revolutionary government is vital because, quote, reaction would inevitably set in, and the more freedom we win now, and the more ruthlessly we suppress and destroy the counter-revolutionary forces in the epoch of the possible and desirable democratic dictatorship, the less will reaction be able to take away from us. In the Third Party Congress, the tasks of the Third Party Congress were 1. To address the party crisis, 2. Decide on the form of the organization of the party, 3. And how the party was to approach the present revolutionary situation. Members of the minority argued that the Third Party Congress was invalid and not legally convened, but Lenin dismisses that. The minority officially split from the party, voted to boycott the Third Congress and expel Lenin, but the Congress went on in secret anyway, outside of Russia. The new rules, determined by the Congress, sought to bring the minority back in by approving multiple organs under one central body. Furthermore, the Congress decided that Iskra would no longer be the central organ, but Lenin's own Proletary, published in Geneva. To the Jewish workers, argues that Jewish citizens of the empire, quote, suffer under the yoke, which deprives them of elementary civil rights. The heavier this yoke, the greater the need for the closest possible unity among the proletarians of the different nationalities. Thanks for listening. Until next time.